The title of this session is Your Path to Happiness, recorded June 7th, 1966.
There are two laws that will cover all behavior. And I say if you'll use these two laws, it'll lead you into full realization. And the first is an attitude of harmlessness toward all beings. And the second is the law of mutuality. That any behavior, if agreed to by both, is correct. If one doesn't agree, the other should not try to make the one do it. For instance, I want to go to the movies. I say, come on, let's go to the movies. And you say, no. And I say, well, why not? Come on, you should go, and so forth and so on. That's wrong on my part. If you don't want to go, I shouldn't want you to go. It's only mutual if we both agree on it. There is no act that cannot be used for helping one grow on the path. And it must be a full-time thing if we want to get realization. It can't be a weekend or a 1 hour in the evening and 1 hour in the morning thing. It must be all the time. Relatively speaking, there's little growth until the subject is every minute, every day. The happier we are, the more we are dwelling in God, in the self. We falsely attribute the happiness to the person out there or the thing out there. But what actually happens is when the person or thing out there satisfies our desire, we stop thinking. And when we stop thinking, we feel good. When we stop thinking, we are being our own self. So someday we all discover that the only joy there is the joy of our beingness, of ourself, which we before attributed to people and things. All right, knowing that when we know that point, that the only joy is our very own self, it follows that the opposite, misery, is just ego, and more specifically, ego frustration. We have desires, we want things, we can't get them, we feel unhappy. So all misery has its source in the ego. All happiness has its source in the self. Now this can be used 24 hours a day for growth. As I said before, the only growth there is, being that we are now, we always have been, we always will be this infinite self. It is changeless, perfect. So the only growth is we cannot grow into the self because we are that. But we do grow out of the ego. The only growth there is letting go of the ego. So to use this concept of happiness versus misery, every time we are unhappy, if we just assume that, well, this is has its source in the ego, we may then look for the source of the misery, and when we discover it, we automatically let it go. The only reason why we don't let go of misery or can't is because we don't see the cause of it. When anyone seizes the cause of the misery, he lets it go, naturally. So if we hold on to that concept that all misery has its source in the ego, we can use this as a method of growth. by looking at every time we are unhappy, looking at it. But with the desire to let it go. All right, now looking at it is not so easy because we must learn how to look at it. When we are unhappy, we should look within for a frustrated desire. This is the source of all misery. We had a desire, and it's selfish. We wanted something, we couldn't get it, therefore we're unhappy. So every time we are unhappy, we should sit with it, look at it, see its source in the ego. And when you see the source of it, when you see that desire that's being frustrated, you'll automatically let go of it. And by doing so, you're letting go of a bit of ego. Continue this and you'll get full realization. You'll eliminate the ego. This can be used every day. If you'll try it, you'll discover that it affords very rapid growth. When you're miserable, get quiet, look within, look for the desire behind it. When you see it, you'll automatically let go. There's another side to desire called aversion. Things we dislike, we have aversions to. But an aversion is a desire not to have. So even an aversion is a desire. It's a desire not to have. So to sum up what I've just said, a very rapid means of growth, one that could give us full realization, is simply looking at our joys and sorrows. Looking at the sorrows, we look for the ego source of it, the desire and its frustration, and when we see it, we automatically let go of it. By so doing, we let go of a bit of ego, we keep it up, and eventually there's no more ego. Now it's also good to approach it on the other side, on the happiness side. If you'll study your happiness, you'll see that the more you are with the self with a capital S, or the more you are with God, the happier you are. When we see that our happiness is nothing but being that which we are, we will automatically try to just be what we are, more so. So we may also look to the happiness, discover what that is, and find that it's simply our very own beingness. And that will encourage us to just be what we are, really, more and more. So these two big things in life, joy and sorrow, can be used every day for growth. Now since we all know it, if we don't use it, I say it's only because our desire for the world, our desire for misery is greater than our desire for this infinite joy. And that we hold on to that desire merely by habit. And I also want to repeat something else that I said, that this path has to be a full-time occupation. It cannot be part-time. We must be with it 24 hours a day if we expect realization. It matters not how busy we are in life. If we have the right attitude, if we have that seeking attitude all the time, we will be doing those things that will be leading us out of this confinement, out of the trap that we've gotten ourselves into. It must be 24 hours a day. Now, when I say 24 hours a day, that includes sleep. We carry into our sleep the stream of consciousness of the daytime. What the stream of consciousness is when we fall asleep, it so remains during the night. If we're intensely on the path during the daytime, we actually grow during the night. Our dreams will change. Instead of having horrible dreams, they'll become good dreams. We'll even meet higher saints and sages in our sleep state, in our dream state. We will get lessons from them in that state, sometimes more easily than in the waking state. But growth does go on during sleep. If we make enough effort in the waking state to make it all the time. So growth can be 24 hours a day, and should be. And if we want realization, it must be.